everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up today, we're going to talk about essentially non-believers in the pews.
Yeah. Fence sitters and pew sitters.
Both at the same time.
At the same time.
Simultaneously. You really can't do it, and that's what we're talking about.
Building fences on pews is the theme of the show.
Good fences. Good fences make good
Parishioners.
Might be
Anyway,
true.
yeah,
I
we're
don't
gonna
know.
talk about that.
Okay. That's a thing.
That'll be later.
All right, Dan.
Yeah.
I got something for you. There's a group of pastors
You know.
up in Rumford, Maine, who are.
I just laughed at the name Rumford. That was what got me on that one.
That's not it, Dan.
Okay.
It is a funny name, but that's not the point. That's not the end of the story.
Good. Keep going.
They are, I guess the local library, right, is having a sort of they're participating in Banned Books Week.
Okay.
They have a little display up. Mm-hmm. Well, these pastors are trying to ban some of those books. They're fine with the display, but there's a couple of them there that need to be banned.
I get what you're doing. Let me just make a couple modifications. Maybe you don't get what we're doing.
You don't understand the point of it.
No, I get it.
Yeah, okay. Huckleberry Finn, we all love it,
but
we hate it.
No, hang on a minute though. So what are the ones that they're like?
Well, apparently the top 10 banned books for the year are all 5 of them are have LGBTQ characters.
Oh, that's the worst.
Or are LGBTQ themed in some fashion.
Gross. You mean they're gross books?
They're disgusting, horrible books. They're promoting things that should not be promoted, and our children might end up seeing them on your banned books display, which is obviously making them a lot more enticing.
Right.
Kids love banned things.
And then they might actually read them and have sympathy toward gay people.
Shock horror.
Ugh.
Well, anyway, the what are they called? The National Coalition Against Censorship and the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund, which I know, which both are supporting the Rumford Public Library's display.
Yeah, I can see
because
how that would be real.
They both groups actively oppose efforts to limit a whole community's access to books based on the personal viewpoints or religious beliefs of some members of that community.
Yeah.
Right. So the idea is, sorry, this public library is for the whole community. We have some books in here that you guys are looking for.
Yeah.
And we have books in here that other people are looking for. And the point that we're making this week is that groups like yourself like to go around and make these decisions for everyone.
Right.
And that's not what we do.
The whole idea is we're exposing what some people want to ban. So you wanting to ban it, kind of making our point for us.
You kind of helped out. I bet all of a sudden these books are a lot more popular.
Oh, yeah. You can't. I mean, frankly, if they've got a display there, how do they even keep the display up? People be grabbing those books and checking them out.
Well, you probably have to order a few extra copies of each one of these books to make sure that, they're in circulation. And as you let them, they probably have a whole list.
Yeah.
And as these books get checked out, they probably bring in some other books. And I mean, who knows?
Who knows? You know what? Maine's going gay because of this.
Oh, I know.
Was it called Rumford? Mumford, Maine? What is it?
I don't know. But one of the titles of some of these books, Queer, Two Boys Kissing. Apparently, The Color Purple. That's not queer.
It's a little queer. Have you seen The Color Purple? It's kind of gay.
I don't know.
Tinky Winky.
So forth and so on.
Yeah. A lot of race stuff, a lot of gay stuff.
Yeah. Stuff that makes people uncomfortable. Because it ain't right.
And maybe says something that folks don't think Jesus would have said. How dare they? How dare maybe Salman Rushdie's on there. Who knows? Never can tell. Anyway, let's move on to. I'm going to take us to England.
Oh,
merry old England, land of meat pies and spotted dick. Look it up; it's real.
wow. Yeah.
For those of you who, like me, have watched The Crown, you watched The Crown.
I love The Crown.
Yeah, you'll recall that there's an episode in which Billy Graham
Oh, yeah.
crosses the pond to go and proselytize, sort of that good old American hillbilly gospel that the British people were all cuckoo bananas over because all they were used to is the boring ass, British
Right.
preaching.
Right.
Well, more than 60 years after that, his son, Franklin Graham, has been invited to go back
Okay.
to the Winter Garden Center in the seaside town of Blackpool.
Nice. Okay.
However, this is not without controversy. Controversy,
Oh, indeed.
if we're going to be British.
Indeed.
When I first started reading about this, I thought, it's probably just a little small group of people. It is not a small group of people. 8,000 people have signed a petition requesting the Home Secretary deny Graham entry into the country. This is due to Franklin having made some rather unflattering comments about both the gays and Islam.
Oh.
He has of course repeatedly commented that homosexuality is terrible, and same-sex marriage and adoptions are not okay with the gays and whatever. He also he called Islam a wicked and evil religion.
Oh. Really?
Yeah.
Them's fighting words.
Well, kind of literally.
Yeah.
That's a good way to start like some fighting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think warranted. And this apple. Well, I mean, did he fall that far from the tree? A lot of people. He's no Billy. Let's just say that. But I mean, Billy Graham would have said those things too, probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah,
He's
he's
about all that.
Franklin Graham, pretty tight with one Donald John Trump. So
Just gets worse and worse.
yeah. So I just think it's interesting that not only are the British people like, they're not going to boycott his thing. They're asking their Home Secretary, don't let him in.
Just don't let him in.
Please don't let him in.
He's not the kind of people we enjoy having here.
We don't like those people. Please don't. Let's just not have him. Shall we?
Let's keep things peaceful.
It seems
Easy.
it's unseemly. I'd prefer not. Shall we? Let's don't.
Well, and let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Well, they're gonna let him in, of course.
Yeah, probably. Otherwise, it turns into an international incident.
Right. Yeah.
Ugh. All right. Well, Dan.
Yeah.
This weekend, there was an incident at a Mormon chapel down in Provo, Utah.
They have more than one of those down there.
Oh yeah, there are plenty. A 74-year-old man,
Yeah.
while walking into the building, had a loaded gun in his backpack,
Okay.
and somehow the gun goes off, shoots a bullet through the young women's room,
Oh shit.
where there were young women
Oh god.
at the time.
Oh my god.
Nobody was hurt
Okay.
in the incident.
Thank God.
However, while trying to control the situation, one of the male leaders of the ward, who's gone unnamed at this point, went in, talked to the young women, and one of the young women decided to record him.
Oh, sassy pants.
Yeah. So he...
Let me tell you something. Before you say anything else, ladies and gentlemen, I know how Mormon men who feel that they're in authority but have not been trained to have any authority can often talk to young people. I think we're in for a treat.
Yeah. So he says to them, we'd rather have you not post, hey, a gun went off at church today. Meaning, don't get online.
Don't go to Facebook.
Don't go to Facebook. That will hit headline news and even go national. And even then, and then we've really created a situation that would be hard to control. So I'm asking you nicely to respect that. Well, one of the young women did him one better than that. She sent the audio to WikiLeaks or Mormie Leaks.
Oh my God, I love it so much.
Mormon Leaks.
Yeah.
And then it's boy, it's hit the media.
Here's what I love.
Maybe not national because nothing really happened. Nobody got hit. Nobody got hurt.
Well, something happened, and that is, like, idiots bring loaded weaponry into public places.
Which actually is a violation of church policy. The LDS Church actually says this about guns on their property.
Okay.
Churches are dedicated for the worship of God and as havens from the cares and concerns of the world. The carrying of lethal weapons, concealed or otherwise, within their walls is inappropriate, except as required by officers of the law. So they've already said to their members, even those with concealed weapons permits, which this guy had, hey, please don't do that.
Man, here's the thing. You give a concealed... Look, I don't want to get into the gun thing because a bunch of our listeners will be all freaked out or whatever.
Right.
But at very least, you don't sort of throw it loose into into your backpack.
Right. Yeah.
But
it was a 22 what was it? 22 caliber something or other.
Revolver or something.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Well, no, it probably wasn't a revolver. Those are a little harder to pull the trigger on. It was probably just he probably had one in the chamber. What a fucking dipshit.
Yeah. Anywho, nobody got hurt. But yeah, I mean, just talking about concealed, carry stuff. That woman who left one on the changing table down at the aquarium, left a gun.
Yeah.
She had a concealed carry.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, if this is something that we're going to do, we've decided, all right, okay, you can get this permit. Let's make it a little fucking harder.
Yeah.
Like, these people don't know what they're doing. They don't have good gun handling.
They have to go
practices.
through training, and that training is clearly woefully inadequate.
Right.
And also, they just don't listen.
Right. And then, well, I got a gun. I'm exercising my right.
I also love the idea of going into a room full of teenagers and saying, look, don't post this on your social media. It might go viral. And I know you don't want that. Because there's no teenager in the world that desperately hopes that their greatest hope in their whole lives is for one of their social media posts to go fucking viral.
Yeah.
They would hate that.
Yeah, that'd be awful.
That'd be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. Well, also one of the creepier details not covered in the Salt Lake Tribune. I listened to the whole audio.
Yeah.
At the tail end of the recording, the man asks one of the young women her name. She asks like a question or something or other, and
he doesn't know her.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Right, but she says her name, and he goes, "Oh, the first girl I ever had a crush on was named blah blah blah," and they bleep it out in the audio.
Right,
and it's just kind of this creepy, and everybody giggles and laughs, but he just keeps going.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he doesn't like let it go for a minute. And it's just like...
Starts describing her.
Yeah, we made out in the back of my car. Blah, blah, blah. No, you didn't say that. But like... Yeah.
She had blonde hair. Yeah. I remember she stood around 5'6", 5'5".
Hey, stand up for me.
Hang on, yeah.
She was just about your height.
I feel like your boobs are about the right size.
Yeah, so that happened. I love, though, that this young person... so completely had such disregard for whatever authority this guy was trying to exert over them.
You know,
this was like, was aware of Mormon Leaks.
Yeah,
was just like slipping off to Mormon Leaks.
This is a girl whose parents make her go to church.
Yeah,
she does not choose to go to church.
No. And she is going places,
and she's quick on the draw too.
Yeah,
she was like, "Oh, this is going to be good." All right, well, I'm going to take us to Michigan.
Oh.
You may be aware, you are aware, I know you are, our listeners may be aware that there is a large, actually, pretty large number of Muslims in Michigan.
Dearborn or
Dearborn's
something?
a big place. There's just a lot of practicing adherence to the Islamic religion.
Right.
Islam comes with some cultural baggage a lot of the time.
Okay.
It's not always great. I'm just going to say that there's lots of parts of many religions that I'm not cool with.
Right.
So apparently, I don't remember us reporting on this, but it has grown. There was an emergency room doctor, an actual doctor, an American doctor,
Okay.
named Jumana Nagarwala.
Okay.
This woman was charged with female genital mutilation of a couple of girls.
Oh my God.
Last year she was charged with this.
Okay.
This year, now, today, or recently, those charges have been amped up. She is now being charged with at least 8 counts of this.
What?
And they're estimating that she and a few other people that she has been doing this with, like in this clinic, sort of after hours sort of thing, over 100
Oh my God.
young girls, all around the age of 8 or 9, that they've been bringing in and performing this horrific act upon. So that's fun.
Oh my God.
Other people have been added to it. Other people who were like either in the room assisting. You know, there's one guy that who runs a clinic, and she was doing it there. And
Oh my God.
yeah, a doctor who has been trained in America,
Licensed in America.
licensed in America. She knows full well that there's no medical reason why you would ever do this to a little girl.
But there are, in her head, religious reasons.
Right. And and so that's why they're doing it. Now
Most of Islam is not cool with this practice.
right, or at least does not practice it.
Right.
You're right. Most of Islam doesn't do it. It's much more cultural.
Yeah.
Than it is.
There's like specific
religious
parts of like Islam as practiced in parts of Africa. Right.
And I think parts of the Middle East as well.
Oh, okay.
It's
Interesting.
It's a horrific thing. It's barbaric, and you know the stated goal, I believe, is to make sure that these girls don't feel pleasure during sex because that's unseemly or something like that. Also, by the way, don't circumcise your boys. Just don't mutilate any of your children's genitals.
Sure.
Can we just? That is the stated policy of Thank God I'm Atheist.
All right.
But yeah, so she's been indicted. It is not legal to do this.
Right.
And there are policies. I think that Michigan actually has a rule about it until they're 18, in which case they can make decisions for themselves. You know, once they achieve sort of legal adulthood, they can make decisions for themselves about what happens to their genitals.
Right.
And that's fine.
Right.
People make wacky choices all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, an 8-year-old, fuck you.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's infuriating. And in our own fine, perfect, idyllic country.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Here in Utah, we have something kind of interesting happening.
Do we?
Yeah, with regards to medical marijuana. We have an initiative on the ballot.
A ballot initiative for
a
voters?
referendum or whatever it's called. It's going out, to the entire state. Proposition 2.
Yep.
It's been numbered 2.
Prop 2.
And we will be voting on that in early November.
Yep.
Along with a bunch of other really fascinating issues facing Utah. But this one has really gotten the LDS Church the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons. All
hot and bothered.
in an uproar.
It's so funny. Why are you weighing in on this? I don't know. But they're weighing, and they're weighing heavy.
Well, they're weighing in because most the polls are coming in, and a majority of the voters in this state want medical marijuana.
Yeah.
Which means that there is a large number of Mormons wanting medical marijuana.
Yeah.
And the church, the LDS church, sees a little bit of their control slipping away because they have said in the past that this is not cool. They do not medical marijuana of any kind. It is a violation of their word of wisdom.
Yeah.
Even though the word of wisdom doesn't say anything about it.
Yeah.
But they have decided that it's part of the word of wisdom.
Don't kid yourself, kids. This is a church that is run by very, very old white men who were trained from their youth that this was that reefer madness was real,
right?
And that this was a drug for criminals, young hoodlums,
right? And there's also a racial tension.
There's
the
a
whole thing,
huge racial tension
for old people.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, but the church has been going through this rapid evolution on this issue. We've watched them make multiple statements this year, and their stance has evolved It's changed each time.
Yeah.
They came out initially, they were kind of holding firm. They were okay with, like, a couple years ago, CBD oils were sort of some law passed that those were allowed.
Yeah.
And then this year, with maybe a little bit of the church's, at least not opposition, a very, very, very limited medical marijuana bill did pass the legislature.
Kind of.
But it's only for, like, a very short list of ailments, and only in the last 6 months of the patient's life could they use medical marijuana. Which is just, what the fuck you guys even...
Yeah, if I've got 6 months to live, I'm doing heroin. Fuck you. I am snorting things that, like, I'm trying Ajax. I don't care. I will try whatever the fuck I want to try. What are you going to do? Oh, yeah, well, make sure to put my trial on for 6 months from now.
So as far as how the timeline of this goes, the Salt Lake Tribune did us a big favor and put this whole thing in order. So January 16th of this year, Russell M. Nelson is announced as the 17th president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Right.
And they're putting in the detail that I suppose it might be important that he is a former heart surgeon.
Oh, that's true.
Okay.
He was a doctor.
So he has a
years ago.
A medical background. At some point in his life, he was a doctor.
Right. Let's not kid yourself. He was a doctor back, in the Middle Ages.
Right. And then in April, the church comes out praising a statement by the Utah Medical Association. I should say the so-called Utah Medical Association. We can come back to that if we want to. Opposing the Medical Marijuana Initiative Proposition 2.
Right.
Right. Then in May, the church releases legal analysis warning about the undesirable consequences of Prop 2. Then in June, the Salt Lake Tribune and the Hinckley Institute, they did a poll that shows Utahns support legalizing marijuana by... It's a 67 to 30% little breakdown there, despite the church's opposition.
Right.
Then in August, the LDS Church formally joins a coalition opposing Proposition 2 and says for the first time that the faith does not object to the medicinal use of marijuana if doctor prescribed in dosage form through a licensed pharmacy. Which doesn't exist anywhere in this country.
Right. That's not a thing that actually... So basically, they're like, it's fine as long as you do it in a way that we know for a fact you won't be able to do it.
Right. But they actually say that they don't object to the medicinal use of marijuana.
Right. And
which is really interesting.
Yeah,
right?
that's a change of how they're talking about it.
Later that month, a poll comes out that shows that support for Proposition 2 has remained very high. No matter what the church is saying, they're still the Mormons are just like, yeah, fuck you. On September 14th, the LDS Church alters its language slightly, saying that it supports medicinal use of marijuana so long as proper controls and safeguards are in place. And then 3 days later, the LDS Church calls for a special session of the legislature to legalize medical marijuana before year's end, describing it as a urgent matter. So now they desperately want it legalized.
Right. On their terms.
Strictly on their terms. Even though come, the first Tuesday in November, the good people of Utah are going to vote on this issue.
Yeah, we got this.
And probably approve the proposition.
Now, the church coming out against this has lowered support for the bill or for the proposition.
A little bit.
A bunch, especially among their most adamant members.
Right.
Their most believing members.
But it's been a single-digit shift. It still isn't.
Not in that category. In that category, I just read a thing.
Okay.
In the category of
statewide support.
Right. In the category of like firm believers, it went from like 60-something% down to 40-something%.
Oh dear God.
Because these are people who are used to just doing as they are told from above.
Right.
But it's shocking how many people are still doing it. Like are still supporting it. 40% after the church has come out and said, do not support this bill.
Right.
Over 40% are still like, yeah, I'm still supporting the bill.
And I bet you anything that number is low. I bet when people actually go into the voting booth, that they're going to vote their conscience.
It's like Trump numbers.
Yeah.
Low because everybody's ashamed of it, and then high when they actually like vote for it because they've got a niece who fucking has epilepsy and could use it.
Yeah. I think those are probably artificially low numbers. Anyway,
yeah.
So what is interesting, though, is that they're calling for this special session. The governor, who is on record as being opposed to Prop 2, is saying, yeah, well, but we don't do that unless we have consensus on an issue.
He's on the record as being opposed, but he has quietly been he has been mysteriously quiet about it.
Oh, yeah.
He has shut his goddamn yap about this.
He sees the poll numbers.
He knows it's right.
Right.
He's okay with it.
Right.
And I think he's he's trying hard not to let the church get in the way of it.
Right.
I think he knows it's okay. I
don't know.
I think he secretly supports it.
I don't know. I don't want to ever think any mildly positive thought about Herbert.
Oh, because he's a dipshit. He is a dipshit.
Like, I just can't bring myself to think that he's actually truly sort of operating on that level. I think it's a little bit more cynical on his part, to be honest. He sees the polling. He just knows where the numbers are at, and he's just like, why am I going to get in the middle of this?
Right. Why would I? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I can only lose on this one.
Yeah. He's a politician, So anyway, I just think it's an amazing.
I just think you're giving him credit for intelligence that he doesn't have.
Well, he does have advisors, but nonetheless, it's this fascinating moment that we're watching right now of the LDS Church. We're watching an issue play out where they just don't have a grip on their membership like they think they they traditionally have had.
Right,
and because the demographics and population has shifted around a little bit in Utah, they're also witnessing one of the first moments where their whim as an organization doesn't get laws passed.
Right.
It's very interesting. I don't know what it means for the future, but right now it's kind of fun to watch.
It's a little shocking.
It's shocking and it's fun.
Yeah.
There's some Schadenfreude.
Yeah, exactly.
For me on this.
Yeah, totally. I'm going to close out by going to Buffalo in New York, upstate New York, land of the Niagara, or just outside of it. I'll do fun facts about Buffalo.
Yeah, no, it's also
buffalo
chicken,
buffalo wings,
buffalo wings.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Did you know that buffalo sauce is just like Louisiana hot sauce and butter?
It's Frank's sauce and butter. Yeah,
It's like
Frank's hot sauce and
just
butter.
copious amounts of butter. Like literally like a cow worth of butter.
It's 50-50.
It's so much fucking butter.
Yeah, it's legitimately 50-50.
Of course you know that because you have a restaurant that serves wings. I had no idea. I had no idea that it was just hot sauce and wings and butter.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Diocese of Buffalo. Mm-hmm. Boy, you hear the word diocese these days and you know what's coming, don't you? If I say the word diocese, everybody should just knee-jerk go, oh, we're going to be talking about child rape. That's just going to happen. Back in the month of March, the Diocese of New York was trying to, I guess they were, I don't know what they were doing. Maybe they were trying to get ahead of the stories that are all going to be coming out or whatever. Mm-hmm. But they sort of voluntarily, as a self-policing thing, released the names of 42 priests who had been wrapped up in scandal.
Okay.
In this, the sort of sexual abuse scandals.
Okay.
Which is like, hooray. They actually did something.
Right.
Well, here's the thing. The people on this list were mostly priests who were retired, who were done, who had died, whatever.
No.
The full list originally had 106 priests.
No.
Some of whom still working in the diocese, some of whom, a whole bunch of them.
Their big list coming clean is still doing what they always do, protecting priests.
1,000%.
Holy shit.
That's not the end of it, though. The complete list had 324 names. It was just we're not including priests. We're talking, so there were also deacons, nuns, and lay employees who were also on the list. And that list of 324 names had been whittled down to 42 by the time it was released to the public. Isn't that cute?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, a lot of these priests, they say that 11 of the priests were eliminated from the list because they determined that the allegations against them were not credible. That was the diocese made that determination.
That's not their job.
And then a whole bunch of 25 of them a whole bunch of them were just sort of kept off for whatever reason.
Oh, my God.
Some cases they were kept off the list because they were still in the ministry or the diocese had previously hidden abuse and they didn't want from parishioners and they didn't want to get in trouble.
This was just open, season.
This was
these were their happy hunting grounds for molesting and raping children.
Oh, I think you just described the Catholic Church.
Clearly.
That's just...
But this is just the numbers that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's not... That there are various levels of the hierarchy that are engaged in the same activity.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
That's what's happening. That's what the Catholic Church does. This is how this has worked for a very long time. I just love that their first attempt at transparency
was not transparent.
So fucking opaque. Fuck you. Way to go, men of God. Way to really shine the light on yourselves.
Weren't we just however many episodes ago applauding them for their goodness? They've released this. They did it.
Yeah. From now on,
never.
I don't believe you.
I don't know what
Tell me more
do at this point.
Tell me what the rest of it is.
Yeah.
I don't believe you. Oh wow, you're
I don't believe this number.
Yeah.
300? It's 1,000.
It's 1,000. It's all of them. It's everybody.
It's like the initiation.
You've got one guy who was blithely unaware.
Just mowing the lawn.
There's one janitor.
Some gardener.
They happened to hire a blind, deaf janitor, and that dude didn't know.
No, he was the rapiest of them all. Oh my God.
Yeah. It's just Yeah, if you've got a diocese, you've got child rape. That's how that works.
Oh, my God. That's mortifying. And from that, we segue.
Yeah. Hey, if you've got a diocese near you, write into us, podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist. Click that like button.
And while you're on Facebook, why not search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join?
Yeah.
And we'll let you in.
Hey, guess what I did today? The other day, I went to the Reddit stream.
Yeah.
That's Reddit/r/TGIAtheist.
Yeah.
I even posted a little thing.
What? That's
Yeah.
crazy town.
Yeah.
Look at you, Dan.
Interact with us. And
Please.
we need you.
So, Dan,
Yes, sir.
last week we played a little clip from Pat Robertson.
We did.
And he had his, he was up in front of a congregation, and he had his hands out. He had everybody else's hands up in the air, and they were commanding this hurricane, which was bearing down at the moment on the East Coast
Of these United
It
States.
was still hadn't made landfall at
Correct.
the moment. Florence is the name of the
Yes.
hurricane, and he commanded Florence
to go back out to sea.
to turn north and wipe out something up there. Right.
Go take out the liberals up in New York. No,
Well,
I think didn't he say like go back out to sea or like
Yeah, something like
and
that.
don't hit and don't make landfall. He said.
Yeah. Well, apparently he got half his wish. So let's play a clip here.
We've had an amazing thing. Hurricane Florence has continued to storm trackers, and they say, what is the deal? Well, here is what it looks like. And the weather forecasters said the hurricane's path is, quote, bizarre. We prayed, and, look at that. It came in here at the point of aiming toward Tidewater, and then it went down that way, away from us. And we asked the Lord to take it out of here, and He did. We haven't had it's like a shield that God has put around us, but it's called bizarre. And here is what the headline in the paper says: Storm's path takes odd turn. There's a storm's path takes odd turn. Well, the odd turn in bizarre is because you and I prayed, and it's not hitting this area. I mean, we'll have some storm stuff out there in the Atlantic.
There'll still be coastal stuff,
but
coastal damage.
Those big heavy winds are not hitting our area. But look at that. It said it's bizarre. Why? Because God's people prayed, and that's what happened. I mean, this is a miracle, ladies and gentlemen. This area here used to be, it was called Hurricane Alley. And when back in just the beginning, way back in 1961, that hurricane was stopped in its tracks, went back down, and we've had a hand of protection over this area since. And when we pray, God does miracles.
AKA, fuck you, Carolinas. Learn to pray, bitches.
Yeah.
Apparently,
Get this guy on your side.
Yeah.
He can make hurricanes go destroy something else.
Yeah. No one ever says that a hurricane's path is bizarre. The only thing anyone ever says about the path of a hurricane is it's completely unpredictable. We can sort of do a little bit of guesswork, but we don't know.
Right.
So, no, Patrick, Patty boy.
Yeah.
But also, boy, isn't he just chuffed with himself about,
he's so proud.
look, it didn't hit me. It only killed 30 some odd people elsewhere.
Yeah.
I did it.
Not my people.
It ruined other people's homes and their livelihoods, and it devastated the lives of a whole, of thousands of people who aren't near me.
Right. Other churches
Right.
were hit. less faithful.
Those bitches just need to learn how to pray right. Right. They didn't pray
What
very
about
good at all.
his viewers who live in the path of the...
They were praying for. They didn't realize it. They were praying for his area. He tricked them. He was like, "Put up your hands, and we're gonna pray." And they thought they were praying for their area. Nope, they were praying for his area.
Oh, dupes.
Dingbats. Learn to pray right.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's not hard.
All those sinful.
Put your hand up in the air.
Sinful Carolinians.
Just wipe them out.
Just wipe them out. The Lord's judgment has come upon ye. Stupid. Hey, we had a voicemail, didn't we?
I do have a voicemail.
Well, hurrah.
This is from a listener who is responding to something that we shared a story about Cuba being in the midst of possibly fully legalizing gay marriage.
Yeah,
and whatnot.
that's right.
And so he had a bit of a story about that.
Yeah, okay.
Hi, guys. My name is Tony. I live in Florida, Tampa. I was calling because I just listened to your recent podcast about the Cuba making gay marriage possibly legal and how surprised you guys were that that was even an option. A funny story related to that, though, is I am a gay man, and my significant other is from Cuba. And 3 weeks ago, I had the privilege to go to Cuba for 8 days. The family, it was a very, very small town in Cuba. The people there had never really been around, gay people, often, if ever. And they all accepted me, were loving, the nicest people, that I've ever met. They had no issues with us being there, sleeping together, everything. Then, the next week, we decided to go to my mother's house and my stepfather, who lived in South Carolina. And it was not so loving and accepting, as we had to sleep in separate bedrooms because my stepfather has decided that he needs to stand up for something that he believes in, and that is not the gay lifestyle, so to speak, which I've been there many times with other people. I guess this just Trump's America, I assume, is giving people the feeling that they can discriminate more openly. So anyway, just an interesting fact that they were more welcoming and nice in Cuba about our relationship than my own family here in the United States. So thank you. Bye.
Well, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Boy, if there's ever a red flag in the world, the phrase emboldened by Donald Trump is about as red and flaggy as you can possibly get.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, that's cool that Cuba was cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of. I feel shocked by that. Should I feel shocked by that? It feels shocking.
I don't know.
Not that there are cool people in Cuba, but I mean, I would
Cool
imagine,
on that issue.
Yeah, cool on that issue seems. Cuba still has cars from the 50s. I don't know. It just feels like they wouldn't be hip to the whole gay thing, but
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't know enough about Cuba.
Yeah, I don't know.
And the changes that have clearly been happening in that country. But I think that's wonderful. And I'm jealous you got to go to Cuba.
Have a fun trip to Cuba.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did have a
Sorry
voicemail.
about your family.
Yeah, sorry. God damn it. Well, we all have families, and guess what? We didn't get to choose them.
Yeah, exactly.
This is an email from Cosmic in California.
Nice.
Because you can't have that name anywhere but in California. Hey, Dan and Frank. In the episode Enemies, you'll recall, Frank, that we talked a lot about. I said I don't have any enemies. I said ideas are my enemies and not people.
Right.
And I sort of wanted to put that out there. Anyway, Dan put me in mind of a book I read recently. In Paulo Freire's, I'm not going to say that right, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, he writes about a social theory which categorizes people into two groups, oppressor and oppressed. In this theory, power is perpetuated for the benefit of the oppressor through the inculcation of the oppressor's values in the minds and lives of the oppressed. In turn, the oppressed seek to become the oppressor by oppressing themselves and others around them. I find that a really interesting, as I was sort of pondering that, it breaks, to me, it lines up with like poor Trump voters. This is what we're talking about. People who are poor, but they're in America. They're all just temporarily embarrassed millionaires, right? So so they all think, I want to vote for millionaire values,
Right.
so that when I become a millionaire, I'll be supported.
Yeah, I don't know how they think they're going to become millionaires. I'd love for
They know
them to
they're not going to
explain
become millionaires, but it's the American dream, goddammit.
millionaire is right.
Yeah, exactly. And, Jesus said, Joel Osteen told me that Jesus said that millionaires are that way because they're righteous. So
Right.
they must be good.
Right.
Cosmic goes on. In his book, Freire exhorts those who would fight for the liberation of others to recognize the oppressor-oppressed paradigm and see that to avoid becoming the oppressor, one must strive to change the world by changing the minds of both oppressor and oppressed.
Oh, wow.
This is because one, sorry, we're getting in deep, but I really liked this, so I wanted to get it out there. Many who are oppressors do not see themselves as such, and even if they did, they would be unable to help because their mindset is based on the notion that to free the oppressed must become like the oppressors. And I think that's very real. I think that, first of all, I think 99% of people who could be categorized as oppressors don't see themselves that way.
Right.
They see themselves as anything as liberators.
Well, which is why often when people are accused of being racist, when people are called out for their racism, right?
Right.
They don't see it.
They don't think they're racist.
Yeah.
They just think, all those black folks, if they would just act right,
Right.
meaning like me,
Right.
they wouldn't have these problems.
And they don't understand how that ain't cool.
Right. Well, not only is that not cool, it's not true.
Right.
But even if it were true, it's not okay for society to be that way.
Exactly.
Number two, many who are oppressed are in the mindset of, I need to take what the oppressor has. Meaning, that's pretty self-explanatory. 3, changing roles with the oppressor merely flips the tables. It does not solve the problem of oppression, but merely substitutes oppressed for oppressors.
Okay.
While this all links, excuse me, where this all links up for me, says Cosmic, is that I think I hear similar calls from Dan and Freire to abandon language that tries to divide us into irreconcilable camps. To make the world a better place, we all need to contribute, regardless of what social strata we occupy. Also, there are certain tools, in this case language, that will not serve that end. While it might be satisfying to have enemies, I agree that it might not be helpful in the long run. Instead, working to raise awareness of social oppression and how oppression begets oppression, to let us see how any oppression diminishes us all, is a better path forward. I agree with that. I mean, I think that's a more eloquent way of saying what I was trying to get at, which is just that, as long as you see people who have a different mindset as your enemy, you're not going to be able to get into what's really the problem, which is you need to convince them to think a different way. And you're not going to do that if they're your enemy and if they see you as their enemy.
Right.
So I think that it's the thoughts, the ideas that are the problem, not the people.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Anyway, thanks for writing in, Cosmic.
We have some people to thank.
Do we have some thanks?
Of course, we have people to thank. There's always people to thank here. Thank God I'm atheist.
Yeah,
including God himself.
We've got
thank you, God.
We've got thank right in the title. We're thankful people.
Thank you, God, for making me an atheist.
Right? Yes, indeed.
Thank you. That actually, I didn't even like the.
You didn't like saying it?
That felt weird.
Yeah. Well,
weird. Those words in that sequence have not come out of my mouth.
Well,
thank you, God.
You were talking to a gross being that doesn't actually exist.
Anyway, we do need to thank Dana, who is now a venerable listener of the show.
Ooh,
so thank you very much,
Dana. Wow.
Yeah, and then we need to also thank our Lord and Savior Emeritus, Angela.
Yes,
and let's all gather around, join hands,
sing Kumbaya,
and show our gratitude to our reigning Lord and Savior, Jenny!
Long may she wave in the name of the mother and the daughter and that cute little aunt that we like so much.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen. And if you'd like to join them, please go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com, click the support tab, and sign up and figure out what works for you.
It's really the only way we make any real money on this thing. and keeps us going. So thanks.
Keeps the
the
show alive.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Dan,
here we are talking.
Words are coming out of our mouths.
Well, for a second, not, but okay, now they are. now we've started the motor.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. You and I were talking earlier about this idea of, we're looking at horrible things happening in the Catholic Church, revelations all over the country, all over the world,
right,
of just massive cover-ups of the most horrific kinds of crimes.
Yes.
And then we're looking here at home at a guy who's been trying to get the Mormon Church to just not have lay clergy who aren't trained in anything ask horribly invasive sexual questions to minors.
Right.
And he just got excommunicated.
Right.
I almost said executed. It's the opposite
if they
of
could,
that.
Dan.
It's the opposite of that. Yeah, they're performing a blood atonement on him.
Yes.
No.
No. And so, yeah, it kind of got the whole brain motor things working. And we started thinking about, because one of the phenomena that has happened, right, in this wake of Sam Young, that's who you were talking about,
right,
and his excommunication, is that the numbers of resignations that are being processed on a website called quitmormon.org, they show a little tally of like how many they're currently working on,
right,
and the number is just fucking spiked.
Right? Yeah, it was like it's normally like maybe 100 or something. It's in the thousands. It was pushing 2,000 or something like that.
Exactly. And so people, can sit on the fence for quite a while. They can know that they've I don't know. I just don't believe it anymore. But I have all these reasons that keep me in the pew every Sunday.
Yeah,
right?
it's so interesting. It can be so frustrating to those of us who are on the outside looking in.
Right.
Like you've got a family member that is, or a friend, a dear friend who's so liberal or even not liberal, but so smart, sees the problems, isn't blinding themselves to it.
Right.
And keeps staying in.
Right.
And you think to yourself, what the fuck are you doing?
Right. Don't you know how much better it is?
You're taking your kids to church every fucking week.
Yeah.
And I've got a few of these friends who I know their heart, and their heart is good, and I know their brain, and their brain is smart, and I know, and yet there's something holding them in, and it's this weird frustration. And so you and I were kind of going over some things, and I think the tendency on our end of things is to make it just a question of logic.
Right.
If if you're able to process X, Y, and Z bit of information, and then you sort of, that leads you to this line of thinking, and if you reason it enough, then done, you're out.
Right.
And it's not that. There's so much more to it than that. For us, for me, at age 19, I went through this whole process, and it was sort of heart-wrenching. It was really troublesome. But it was, for a teenager, I think it's easier.
Of course it is.
When you're
far less on the line.
Yeah.
Your frontal lobe is not fully developed. Right.
You're a dipshit.
You think only about yourself.
Right, exactly.
Right. And so the consequences for those around you are obviously a lot less.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, your parents may have issues with it. People, and
Right.
your social structure may at that point be very tied in with your church, but you're about to go to college.
But you were
There's
perfectly equipped to go through a rebellion and
Yes.
to strike out with your own identity
Yeah.
and to find your own identity at that age. Now, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people who they've been living in the church. They got married. They
have a family.
families.
They have children.
And everything starts to get far more complicated. And even though there's so many materials available now, like people read the CES letter and they make the decision, this is bullshit. And yet they keep, wait a second, why are they still at church?
Yeah. You see somebody and they're still identifying as Catholic, and it's and
I think what we did is, like in our conversation earlier, we started talking about the need for that push, right? Because knowing it may not be enough.
Yeah.
It clearly is not enough, right?
And a lot of times, I mean, we're not just talking about the reasoning. We're talking about a sense of identity.
Yeah.
And we're talking about an emotional pull that something has on you, or 1,000 emotional tethers that are tethering you to this religion.
Right.
And so for so many people, yes, they get this, they see a push. They see, either with the Catholics, they see that, oh my God, look at what's happening in this church. How could a holy church have not only had pedophiles in it? Because it's easy to go, well, Father so-and-so was a bad egg. But, Father other so-and-so is so blessed and beautiful.
Right.
But when the entirety of the structure has supported these evil acts and has not just looked the other way, but made sure that they covered it up and shuffled people around and put other people at risk because they couldn't bear the idea of shining light on their own inadequacies and their own problems.
Well, and so what Sam Young has done, standing up the way that he did, getting a lot of publicity, creating an organization that people were able to rally around.
Yeah.
This has allowed so many people, because the thing on Reddit was, I stand with Sam, right? People kept posting, I stand with Sam, I stand with Sam. And I didn't quite realize how many of those people that were posting that were actually still on the rolls of the LDS Church, right? And so what they were actually saying was, I'm standing in support, and whatever happens to him, well, it happens to me too.
Right.
And it's really been a remarkable thing to watch over the last week. People are posting their little screenshot of their resignation being on on the waiting list and whatnot. And I just these moments are so big, right, and so important, and it helps people feel like they're both part of a little bit of a movement, but I think it also gives them a really good excuse, right? It gives them a reason that they can pivot back to their family, and they can pivot back to the people who they were worried about how they might respond, or worried about maybe their judgment or whatever.
Yeah.
And now they have a really clear-cut, very moral reason for saying, I'm out. It's not just that it doesn't make sense, or that it's transparently false, or fabricated, and that you've been told lies your entire life.
Right.
That isn't enough.
Well,
for
it's
everyone.
It's so funny,
right?
In part because
probably for most people.
Well, yeah, but I mean, and it a lot of it makes sense, right? You're saying something about your identity. You're saying something about these people who raised you. You're saying you're going to your parents and saying, you told me a whole lot of lies.
Yeah.
And I reject them now.
Yeah.
And I reject all of these things that you instilled in me. I now have to I reject all of that, and I reject and in so doing, let's not forget these people. Again, it's an identity thing.
Yeah.
It's part of their, it's the self-chosen DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So when I reject these beliefs over here, I have to realize I'm also rejecting. My parents will feel like I'm rejecting them.
Right. And so, can we apply rather a little bit of what Cosmic was talking about?
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This having to, I mean, your parents aren't necessarily the oppressors, but they're part of the oppression, right?
Well, they are. I mean, when you subscribe to the oppression model, to the system, you're part of the oppression.
Right. And membership in, dare I say, a cult, right? We are shifting a little bit to Mormonism right now. It's an oppressive thing. But Catholicism is oppressive too.
It's all oppressive.
It's all oppressive.
Inherent to religion is oppression.
Mm-hmm.
It is an oppressive because it's a system that places. I mean, if nothing else, the concept of a god is an oppressive concept.
Right.
It is you are not enough. It is someone else has authority over you.
Right.
And you have to buy into that to that entity's system.
Right.
And they will decide if you're good enough or if you're not good enough.
Right.
That's the definition of oppression.
Right.
The whole concept of Christianity is based on an oppression. It's just very interesting. You know, one of the things that I find interesting about this whole conversation, and I equate it to my first marriage, where I know this is going to sound funny. I'll get this. Will
wow,
tie
this
in.
sounds like a wonderful relationship.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I love my first wife as a person, and I always did. But I never felt like that relationship was doing for me the things that I wanted a relationship to do.
Okay.
I didn't understand that at the time. I was in my 20s. I didn't know anything. Because people in their 20s, sorry kids, you don't know anything. And so, I didn't know what marriage needed to look like for me. And I didn't know. So, like every step that I took forward in that relationship, I had this tinge of, I don't want that. I knew in my heart that I didn't want it, but I loved her. So the love was there. I enjoyed our time together. So it just made sense for me to take these next steps forward on a sort of detached level. Something in me was saying, this isn't right for me. But that was never enough. It was never enough to me to just know this isn't what I want. Because there was another person's feelings at stake, and I couldn't articulate in any kind of cogent way what wasn't what I wanted, why this wasn't what I wanted. I never had the language for it. And so when I finally, when things came to a head and things got very, very ugly in our relationship, not anyone's fault really, it just got weird and bad. I finally had words that I could say, aha, I have enough of an excuse that I can say, I don't want this anymore.
Right.
You know why.
Right.
And I want out.
Right.
I think it's very similar with religion. You have this, other people's feelings are at stake. Everybody feels like, your parents, your spouse, your children are going to be rocked by this choice.
Yeah.
And until you can have, and so it makes sense to me that until you can find a way to put language to it, you can't leave.
Right.
It's hard to just say, you know what? Because I have these feelings and thoughts, because this isn't right for me, that's it. That's the only reason.
Right.
It's just not right for me. I don't believe it. Well, that's not enough a lot of the time. You want to be able to point to something. So I think, it's very interesting, but I think the psychology of leaving religion is so much deeper and so much more fraught than we want it to be. Especially like once we've left, we want to be able to just say, I have all of the facts and I have the figures. They don't add up. I look at the Bible. It's got all of these contradictions. Aha, I got you. You have to leave now. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So, if you're looking at your Mormon friends, at your Catholic friends, at your whatever friends, and you see them rejecting so many parts of it and they can't get over that hump, just have a little sympathy.
Yeah.
It's fucking hard as shit.
Yeah.
And for those of us who were able to get out, congratulations, because that's some difficult shit.
Yeah.
We all, you know what? We're veterans. We went through the wars.
Yeah, I know. I want a T-shirt that says, I survived a cult.
Yeah. Yeah, kinda.
Yeah, no, really.
Yeah.
It's sick, but it's true.
Yeah. Anyway, hey, kids, if I'm guessing some of you have some things you'd like to share about this topic. Go ahead, write into us. Podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call, please, and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yep, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist. Click that like button.
And while on Facebook, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It is a closed group, but we let our listeners in.
Yeah, go to Reddit too, reddit.r/TGIAtheist.
Yep. Big thanks to the Red Rock Hot Club and Gordon Johnston for the use of their music.
Yep, thanks to Mackenzie for her fine work on the Facebook page, and thanks to Sarah, Danny, and Amy for their work as moderators in the Members Only Lounge.
And thank you to all of our supporters. Please join them. ThankGodI'mAtheist.com. Click on the support tab.
Yep, and thank you, dear listener, for tuning in. We sure do appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.